It's the SFL Nights it's the SFL Nights with AJ Striker, with AJ Striker. It's the SFL Nights it's the SFL Nights with AJ Striker, with AJ Striker. Ashley Jackson about the action. SFL news, come and join with interaction. Whatever happens, happens. Yeah.
What is up, SFL Nation? And welcome back to SFL Nights with AJ Striker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decided to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. I really appreciate it, y'all. I have my fantastic guests with me. I have a few of them. I got about 6 of them that decided they want to come on the show and help me out, and I really appreciate each and every one of them. First, we're going to introduce Mr. Jimmy Hazards. He is the running back for the Baltimore Vultures. What's up, man?
What's going on, big V4L? Vulture for life. How y'all doing?
You and that daggone Dallas jersey. I mean, it's better than that Green Bay I see, but you know.
And we're looking good.
Yeah.
We just had a kicking problem. That's all I'm going to say. We just had a little kicking problem. But other than that, you know, we'll see y'all soon.
Plenty of ball left to play.
There you go.
Next up, I have my coach, owner, and everything, Mr. Everything, Arizona, Mr. Eddie Gage, strong safety. How are you?
What up, though? What's going on, Ash?
Oh, man, chilling. I see you with the mini helmet over there that you can also pick up if you visit our website, but we'll go over that a little bit later. All right,
we'll see Baltimore in the playoffs.
You said what?
We're going to see Baltimore in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of another Baltimoreite, I have Mr. T. Roy Gaines, Baltimore's fullback. How are you? And GM. Got to make sure I put that in there.
And VP.
Okay, now you just adding titles.
And commentator. I'm adding titles. You just said it. So you set yourself up.
Okay. Always. It's going to be one out the bunch.
Mm-hmm. Hey, at least I'm just wearing the Baltimore jersey, not the Bengals.
Okay, true. But I noticed that it's you rocking the white. You normally it's the black. You know.
Yeah, gotta change it up. I don't even have my glasses on this time, so I'm changing it up.
I appreciate it, man.
I'll do it for you.
Appreciate it. Next up, I have my favorite tight end in the world, Mr. Will Tide for the Arizona
SFL. There you
That's
go,
right.
Will. Let them know, Will.
Baby.
Let them know.
Appreciate it. How you doing, Will?
Doing great, Ashley. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And I have Mr. Green Bay over here. I don't know why in the heck he decided to wear that on my podcast of all podcasts, but Mr. Bo Martin Jr. from the Lone Star Glory. How are you?
This is a glorious evening there, Ashley. I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I was good until I saw you in that green, but you know.
Hey, you know, like I was talking about before, you know, we had a pre-warm-up game, you know, on Sunday. So that was our preseason for Aaron Rodgers. You know, he'll get it together. We'll be all right. But I know how much you love the green and gold. You know, we've talked about it off camera. So I know how much you secretly love the green and gold. So I respect you having to keep that secret. But, you know, I had to rep this for you.
No. You got the wrong colors on, bro. If you was doing that, it should have been a Bears jersey or a Falcons jersey of all. But
no, we've talked about the G. I know you a G.
Next up, we have Mr. Michael St. Green from the London Knights, their third wide receiver, and apparently the best free agent acquisition from season 17.
Yeah, you heard that right. And, you know, I'm feeling
so modest.
I'm feeling a little outnumbered on this panel, but hey, you know, I'm here to represent London over there somewhere. There we go. Represent London.
Nah, you straight. You definitely hold your own on this panel, I'm sure.
Well, that was actually a tongue-in-cheek thing that was done as far as the best free agent acquisition, but it made it to the airwaves some type of way.
Who was number 2 best free agent acquisition?
I don't know. I don't even know who the first is. That was kind of.
He ain't first or last.
Yeah, number 2 don't even matter.
Right? Gotcha. Well, gentlemen, thank y'all all for being on the show. I really, really appreciate you. We're going to be discussing our Week 8 review with SFL Chat around the water cooler. We're going to be doing our Week 9 pick'ems. And we're also going to be discussing what is our favorite and most disappointing moment this far in season 17. All right. So it's going to be a fun show. Let's gear up for it. Now, I chose Denver, Arizona, Lone Star, Portland, Carolina, Atlanta, Florida, Charleston, Baltimore, Mexico City, Fort Worth Toros, and the St. Louis Gladiators to win their games this week. And I believe I only missed one, which is pretty good, because that's not how it's been for the past 7 weeks. So,
are you going to add those sound effects after you say the score? Like, I got this one right. Yup. Add those.
I sure am. You know it.
There you go.
I just downloaded them too, so thank you for reminding me on that. All right, so first up was the Houston Hyenas. Oh boy. Houston Hyenas taking on the Carolina Skyhawks, and Carolina won 51-42. First of all, I don't know where defense was in this game, but they must have just said, "We not playing." They was on strike, something, because 93 offensive points. It's crazy.
That's
right. The Houston Hyenas had 386 yards passing, 105 yards rushing, for 491 yards total. Their time of possession was 22 minutes, 31 seconds with 3 mistakes. The Skyhawks had 384 yards passing, 139 yards rushing, for 523 yards total. Their time of possession was 20 minutes, 28 seconds with 2 turnovers. Player of the game was Logan Jack, running back. He had 16 attempts, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, 42 reception yards, and 1 reception touchdown. So, guys, why do you think that this game was so high scoring? I mean, besides that, maybe defense decided to go on strike, but that was my joke, of course, but like, what do you really think happened with this game?
Well, I can start first. It just, like you said, Ashley, you talked about defense or lack thereof. I was looking at some of the numbers, and gosh, it just didn't look like there was anybody on either side of the ball. It just didn't look like there was anybody in the defensive backfield. I mean, DR Sims is going to go nuts. Everybody knows, he's one of the best receivers in the game. But then Kyle Fenimore actually had more yards than he did. So so it's like they were just it seemed like they were almost just chucking the ball, right? And so you think about, they had, what was it? Almost 400 yards of total passing yards. And then Carolina was only 2 yards less than them. So I just didn't see anybody in the defensive backfield. And, maybe I'm a little bit partial as a cornerback, but when you're just taking shots downfield like that constantly, it's going to be a high scoring affair. And unfortunately for Houston, they end up coming up on the short side of the stick, which I did not watch that game. I just want to emphasize that, DR. They ended up coming up on the short side of that stick and taking the L.
And if I can add, Houston they've been pretty much doing that all season long, as far as going, deep to DR Sim. Kyle Fenimore did get involved more in this game, but that's typically what they've been doing. But probably why Carolina was able to take advantage of some things. What a lot of people have probably forgotten at this point is Houston has a ton of rookies on that squad. I think they had like 7+ draft picks that they. Yeah, 8 draft picks that they picked up. They had to replace Roger Law in the secondary, who had a great season the season before. So and Carolina, they've been really coming on strong, getting a lot of their receivers involved. Heath McDaniel had a big game. Sam Avalis, he's been making a lot of big catches in the past few weeks, and I think that's why we saw the type of game that we saw. But the biggest key to this game, to me, as what you mentioned in the stats, was that Logan Jack with the 16 carries and 141 yards. He typically is going to come out of the backfield and not pound the ground like that. And that was the difference in this game.
Okay.
You know how teams are going into practice and they have practices with no pads on?
Yeah.
That's what this game was for both teams. after practice, it was like practice with no pads on. It was just, it was like a Pro Bowl almost. I mean, you go in there with a gentleman's agreement that we're not going to really hit too hard today. Everybody going to walk out healthy and go home to their families. That's what this game was. It was a track meet. And, Houston, they had, before coming to this game, they had one of the better scoring defenses. So to see them give up yards in chunks like that was surprising. But like Mike St. Green said, they do have 8 rookies, so it's going to be times where, they just may not show up and take an L. And unfortunately for them, this was one of those weeks. And that's sad for them because that's now 5 straight losses after starting the season 3-0. So it's got to.
Great point.
No one's going to have any sympathy for you. You got to right the ship and get back on the grind and prepare for next week.
All right. So the Las Vegas Fury took on the Atlanta Swarm at the Hive, and Atlanta won 31-17.
Yeah.
Las Vegas had 239 yards passing, 130 yards rushing for 369 yards total. Their time of possession was 19 minutes, 25 seconds with 3 turnovers. Atlanta had 209 yards passing, 173 yards rushing for 382 yards total. Their time of possession was 23 minutes and 23 minutes and 7 seconds with 1 mistake. Player of the game was BDG Hollywood with 23 attempts, 159 yards, 10 reception yards, 2 reception touchdowns. So why do you think Atlanta won this game, y'all?
Defense.
Turnovers.
Defense and turnovers, yep.
How about Bryant Dynasty only missing 4 passes?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
both offenses played well, but when Joseph Green missed, it was going the other way.
Yeah, he got pick 6 against him by Jay Miraculous. If that hurt him.
Atlanta's defense has been the key to them winning games all season long, really. The game they played us, London, the second time around, that was basically all defense. Jack Napier had a couple of interceptions, including a pick 6 and an almost pick 6. And the week after that, the secondary pretty much controlled the game. And here again this week, they did the same thing. But the only difference this week, they took a lot of pressure off Bryant Dynasty with BDG Hollywood. We hadn't seen much of BDG this season, going off. And then he finally had a game where he went off and protected Dynasty a little bit. I don't have I know you said it 1 turnover. I don't know if that was a fumble or something else. I don't have him listed for a interception, but 209 yards, that's not going to blow anybody away, but 4 touchdowns passes, that will blow somebody away. And they just protected him where he doesn't have to do it all through the air, and they won the game.
Also, Vegas needs to do a better job protecting their quarterback. They gave up 5 sacks in that game. And that's a recipe for disaster no matter what league you're in, either esports league or the pro leagues that's going on right now. You cannot give up 5 sacks.
Yeah, you're right, T-Roy. What I did note in this game too, it's been doing with the secondary weeks before, but this defensive line stepped up real big in this game. Billy Ray Valentine had a sack.
Joshua Williams
had a sack. Porter had a big game. So yeah, the defensive line stepped up and made a huge difference against Vegas.
All right. The Denver Nightwings took on the Louisiana Revolution at Stack Up Stadium, and Louisiana won 23-7.
Yeah.
The Denver Nightwings had 209 yards passing, 59 yards rushing, for 268 yards total. Their time of possession was 19 minutes and 12 seconds with 3 mistakes. The Revolution had 141 yards passing, 104 yards rushing for 245 yards total. Their time of possession was 24 minutes, 48 seconds with 1 mistake. Halfback Reggie Streeter was the player of the game with 32 attempts, 98 yards, 1 touchdown, and 10 reception yards. So, gentlemen, what do you think about this game?
Reggie Streeter had the toughest 98 yards any running back has ever earned in this league. I think he had like 32 attempts.
32 carries, yeah.
32 carries and 1 touchdown. So, that means that kept Denver's offense off the field. Unfortunately, besides the mistakes that Eric Price made during that game. And that's only because he's a rookie. as Eddie talked about before with rookies, they're going to need that time to progress in order to get to the level that they hope their quarterback is going to be. But it's just that Streeter balled out. Tank Bennett balled out with 10 solo tackles. Evan Arthur had 2 interceptions. Louisiana was just the team that was on point in that game, and Denver, they will be back next week.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
Shout out to Louisiana's defense for doing just enough. They Doug Day came up with a key interception. There was a couple other interceptions that took place, and they're supporting their rookie quarterback really well. And because he's, like you said, T-Roy, he's going to make mistakes, but their defense seems to be picking him up. And so they've got a really good defensive strategy in place. And I think that they're giving Mr. Barr just enough supports until he can get his bearings underneath him. And I think Louisiana's got a pretty bright future. I mean, everybody knows Denver is retooling right now, but they'll get it together. I believe these last couple of weeks, you're going to see a different Denver. But, they're retooling this year. But overall, I really think Louisiana's defense has done a good job of picking them up. And then now that BDG is coming along, look out for Louisiana as a wild card.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was surprised that Bailey O'Shaughnessy only had 11 carries in the game. Now, he did have 16 receptions, but, when you've got, again, a rookie quarterback that's growing into the league, and you've got a good running back, why don't you feed the running back more to take some of that pressure off the quarterback? Price, he had 70% completion, but he did throw those 3 picks. And, that was just something they couldn't overcome.
Will just actually pointed out something that I was going to make. Louisiana's defense they've been playing extremely well the past 4 or 5 weeks, but Denver seemed to take a different approach this game. The previous game, Bailey O'Shaughnessy had over 150 yards, if I'm not mistaken. And then this game, it seemed like they took a different approach, seeming like they, I guess, wanted to get more of the passing game involved. And for me, it was no particular reason for that. I just felt like they should have kept trying to rush Bailey and work on their offense from there. But they seem to just kind of flip-flop this week and say, okay, we want to attack through the air. I remember commenting like, man, Denver's not really running the ball at all. And we finally saw a little bit of O'Shaughnessy in the second half, but they seem to flip-flop on what they were doing up until this point of the season, trying to, get things going on the ground.
Gotcha. Anyone else?
I can't comment because I was too busy watching my own game when that game was taking place.
No worries. No worries. Speaking of your own game, the Arizona Scorpions took on the Vancouver Legion in Canada and won 19-7. The Scorpions had 260 yards passing, 99 yards rushing, 359 yards total. Our time of possession was 27 minutes, 1 second, 2 mistakes. Vancouver had 214 yards passing, 20 yards rushing, 234 yards total. Their time of possession was 16 minutes, 27 seconds with 4 mistakes. Player of the game was Donnie Hands. 10 receptions, 107 yards, 1 touchdown, and he averaged 10.7 yards per catch. So, Coach, great win, by the way. Absolutely great game plan to take on Vancouver. As you very well know, they will score on you. It could be anywhere from 40. I've seen them score 70 points on people at one point, but it seems like you had the game plan to counteract that. Also, a big thing that I noticed that you did was held Robert Redford to only 20 rushing yards. And I think he didn't get that until like the 4th quarter or something crazy. So you did your job, man. What else did you do to help us win this game?
Well, first, before I go on to that, I got a question for Mike St. Green.
Mm-hmm.
You and Cam released your Week 8 recap. And you went and talked about all the top-tier teams like Baltimore, Mexico City, Atlanta, all them. And then you went and said, matter of fact, Cam's words were the next tier of teams. And he named off St. Louis and some other teams. And I'm like, okay, well, somewhere in there he going to get into Arizona. And The show came and went. I didn't hear us even mention no game balls, no mention of our team. And, I'm like, hold up. We the only team who won on the road. We played a powerhouse team in Vancouver who traditionally go to the playoffs every season. They putting up 40 plus points a game this season. I think they're like third behind Baltimore and somebody else. And I'm like, hold up. My dog's like, hey man, where I shout out at? Only team that, did you notice that too, Will?
I did. I wasn't going to say anything, but I did.
So I sent the commissioner a text. I said, yo, man, the disrespect, bro. But go ahead, Mike.
Did the show come out already?
It did.
Yeah, it did.
it did.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, I think we were discussing the top 5 teams in the league who we thought were the top 5. And I think the other conversation was more or less teams on the come. Arizona's pretty much already there. We weren't. I think the second half of that was not about a division leader or what have you. Y'all right. I don't think. Well, we probably did mention Mexico City, but you guys, you're in control of the division and things like that. But we're discussing Arizona. We're supposed to be discussing Arizona and Vancouver, but I wasn't supposed to be put on the spot to defend whatever. But no, I defend. I defended. I mean, Arizona's there. Win next week, win the week after that, and then maybe we can start talking about the top 4 or 5. But you're in basically playoff purgatory. You're right in the middle. You're not at the bottom. You're not at the top. You're right there in playoff purgatory.
But you know what? I'll give you a bit of props, Eddie, because I wanted to say Tom Pepper had a bad game, right? That was what I was going to say initially, but that's kind of disrespectful to what y'all did as a defense. Our
D-line balled out, bro.
And that's exactly what I'm getting at. To say that Tom Pepper had a bad game makes it seem like your defensive line didn't have a great game.
Right.
And in fact, you did. So it wasn't necessarily that Tom Pepper was running for his life. So, he was put in a position where he wasn't used to being in. Everybody, like Ashley said, everybody knows what Vancouver can do. Like they'll put up 500-600 yards on a regular basis.
Right.
But somehow, and I wish I could see your notebook, because somehow you figured out how to get to Tom Pepper and you had him running for his life the entire game. He never felt comfortable. I'm trying to remember any plays where he had a chance to just sit back and relax in that pocket. It seemed like he was constantly under pressure. And so, kudos to Atlanta for whatever defensive strategy y'all put together, because I don't know if I've ever seen Tom Pepper have a game like that.
If there was a game ball to be given out for that game, it would have went out to our front 4, because they man. It looked like that my Sims too, so I wasn't surprised. I mean, I shouldn't say I wasn't surprised. I wasn't expecting us to play that well, because our Sims went good. And I was like, man, I think we're going to have a good game. But they went out there and dominated, and to see us play, to see my front 4 play like that, man, I couldn't be more proud of those guys.
Well, one quick question about that. Dayton, even going back to the week before, y'all had Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all pretty much held Robert Johnson in check too. Is that just the defensive line, or is it right now just the defense as a whole in Arizona? Is it clicking? What's the secret over there in Arizona? I mean, not to get out any trade secrets as far as strategy, but man, what do you think the key is to you guys being able to shut down some pretty high-powered players over the past couple of weeks?
I'll say this. I've seen one of our linebackers, Sean Moore, he came in. He didn't see the game live. He was out with his wife. And he came back and said, man, I didn't have such a good game. And it's not that he not having a good game, but our D-line give them less opportunities to make tackles, because, D.D. Sachs and Mark Mello, they known for rushing the pass. They was 1-3 in sacks last season. But if you look at our run defense, they making a lot of tackles, and they make them behind the line of scrimmage. They run defense is just as good as they pass, as good as they pass rush. So, it's not that he's not playing well, but he's just not getting as many opportunities to make tackles, because our D-line is just balling right now.
Yeah, and they look good. And that actually, real quick, and that parlayed over to help Ashley out too on the offensive side. When the defense is balling like that, it parlayed into helping Ashley. She wasn't required to do too much. She was able to sit back. You know, she only had 260 yards, but she was very effective. You know, and then that also too allowed DJ Mose to get going. He had 160 yards of total offense between rushing and pass catching. And when you got all that combined together, you got that defense balling like they were, it's gonna add up to a win every time.
For sure, man. DJ, he didn't like go off and have one of those signature runs, but he was just getting 3 yards here, 4 or 5 yards there, and he was just keeping Tom Pepper on the sidelines. Well,
there you go.
And man, it was just beautiful to watch, man. It may not have been as beautiful for like an offensive guy to watch, but for me, seeing Tom Pepper over there, you know, drinking Gatorade and holding the clipboard, man, it was
that was beautiful to watch as an offensive player right here. I'm a running back fan, so I see a running back go to 160 yards. I don't care how he got it. That is a beautiful thing, and that helps keep the opposing offense off the field and the opposing defense on the field, wearing them out. And that's what you did well.
Yeah, Coach. Yeah, we don't want to forget too. Cliff Allen was money going 4 for 4 in field goals. I mean that's 12 points that if we don't have, it's a tie game.
Yeah,
and he was balling all games. So want to make sure we give Cliff a shout out.
Why aren't we giving a shout out to somebody who's also on the panel that got INT? Eddie.
Look, bro.
Another INT. Every time I come on the show, you come with an INT, man.
I appreciate that. I could care less if I don't scratch the stat sheet. Only thing I care about is the W. If
I know you care about the W, but I'm gonna give you some shine.
It's nice in the win. Don't get me wrong, it's nice in the win, but I don't care, man. I just want W's at this point in my career.
How many INTs you got, Eddie, in your career? How many?
82, I think.
God, dog.
And you ranked first in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Hall of Famer.
I got a ways to go, bro.
Hey, man, I was at your player this week, bro. Man, for you to be a cornerback for a short period of time, man, your player, man, I'm telling you, he a playmaker out there. I was watching you, dude.
I hope so. I hope he'll be that way for a while.
Well, speaking of being that way for a while, the Los Angeles Vikings took on the Lone Star Glory at Medal of Honor Field, and Lone Star won 38-31.
Yeah.
LA had 298 yards passing, 55 yards rushing with 354 yards total. Their time possession was 20 minutes and 12 seconds with no mistakes. Lone Star had 272 yards passing, 134 yards rushing, 406 yards of total offense. Their time of possession was 23 minutes, 48 seconds with one mistake. Player of the game was Miss Ike McBride, running back, 30 attempts, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 14 reception yards. So, Bo/Bubba, tell us about this game and why y'all won.
Well, I mean, you just said it quite simply. Ike, I don't know how to give Ike enough credit. In my opinion, she's the most underrated back in the league. And I don't know, I don't know if it has to do with the fact that she's a girl or not, but for some reason, when people talk about, if you say name the top 5 backs in the SFL, a lot of people won't have her name in there. And I feel that it should be in the top 3 names in the SFL. But for some odd reason, she gets looked over. Time and time again, she's bailed us out of tight spots. We weren't able to get to the quarterback like we had planned to. A lot of what we do is predicated on things that, like Yogi Bar can do on getting to the quarterback, and Tina Begin, the quarterback crusher. So a lot of what we do is predicated on those guys getting to the quarterback and getting some pressure so that we can get the picks. And we just didn't get that. But then what we did count on is we can count on people like like Ike. Just we call her Miss 555 because every time she touched the ball, it's almost 5 yards guaranteed. And that's a wonderful thing to have out of a running back when she can touch the ball and she can average 5 yards a carry. That's wonderful. And so that's, in my opinion, that's where the W came in at.
Okay. Anyone else?
But in addition to that, this is one of the first games this season where we actually played a complete game offensively as well as defensively. We've had a few games where we've been off balance, but this game, everybody was on point and it allowed it to come together.
That's true. Very
You know,
true.
even though you gave up 31 points, your defense did a great job with Robert Johnson too. Held him to 56 yards on 20 carries, and you know you can't overlook that. I mean, that was
ain't easy to do.
That's right. That was forcing LA to do things they probably didn't want to do. So,
Good points. Anybody else?
Who is Albert Begin? 13 tackles.
Strong safety.
13 tackles.
Yeah, he was balling. He was balling.
Mm-hmm. Him and Nate Hall. So Nate Hall with another 7 year defense. Crazy.
Yeah.
So what they I don't know what LA tried to do, but we got the leading tackler in the SFL in J Mart, right? And so I guess, and maybe they'll never admit it, but LA tried to take J Mart out of the game because typically look at Eddie's laughing because they did. They tried to take J Mart out of the game. And so I guess they figured they would pick on other people besides J Mart. And so because they did that, J Mart, I don't know if he maybe had like 2 or 3 tackles in this game when usually he has 10 or 15 tackles. But because they did that, they ran to Nate Hall and they ran into Albert Begin. They ran to his side and they didn't expect Albert Begin to ball out like he did. And so he picked up the slack when they took J Mart out of the game.
Good points. Anybody else?
I can just say that I can attest to Ike McBride because swimming against them this week, it's gonna be all hands on deck trying to control that running game.
She's a beast. I call her truck stick.
Yeah, it wasn't fun going against Lone Star 2 times last year because of their offense and their defense. So yeah, Ike McBride, she's the truth.
Better not sleep. The moment you do, you're gonna take that L.
He'll put you on your back.
I'm also gonna say that thanks to Jimmy Hazard, I'm gonna go ahead. I had to grab me a piece of gum. He over there killing that whatever it is.
Yeah, I saw it on my desk. I was like, give me that. Cut down the nervousness.
Gotcha, man. And Jimmy, jump in whenever you want to. Whatever game you want to, whatever you want to talk about. All right.
Oh, look, I ain't watched all the games this week, so I'm over here reading stats, trying to keep up with you fellas. I got it. All
right, cool, man. All right, so DC Dragons took on the Portland Fleet in the Shipyard, and Portland won 26-13.
Yeah.
DC had 232 yards passing, 12 yards rushing, 244 yards total. Their time of possession was 17 minutes, 8 seconds with 1 mistake. Portland had 130 yards passing, 176 yards rushing for 306 yards total. Their time of possession was 26 minutes, 52 seconds with 3 mistakes. Player of the game was Ezekiel Love with 40 attempts, 176 yards, 7 reception yards, and 1 reception touchdown. So it looks like Portland won this game because they had a more balanced game. When you can get both of your running and passing in sync, which they have, you can definitely make a difference. And you held the ball longer, substantially longer, to be able to make a difference. Even though they did have 3 mistakes, they were still able to make that difference, I think, with the run game to kind of secure that win. Anybody else?
On paper, DC should have did exactly what Portland did. Run the ball. Your boy, what's his name? Kevin Say, 8 carries? No, sir. They got to get Kevin Say the ball more.
That's 100%. You gotta know who you are as a team. And Kevin Say is a really good running back. And so I can't imagine why he would only touch the rock 8 times. On the flip side, Portland knows who they are, and I love that about them. They knows that their offense is predicated on what Ezekiel Love does. So
does he wear 21?
Does he? I don't know. But they know their offense is predicated on Ezekiel Love touching the rock. He reminds me of Christian McCaffrey. Like when he's one of the very few backs where the team probably relies more on him than they do on the quarterback. And so it's really weird to see, but Ezekiel Love, and this is only his 2nd or 3rd season in the league, and he's already evolved to be top tier in the running back category. 40 touches, like he's a horse, and they run him like a horse, and that allows for mistakes to be made up for, like with the 3 turnovers. That allows kind of, when you can get Ezekiel Love going like that, it puts you in a good spot. And I said it last year. I said, watch out for Ezekiel Love. He's going to be one of the top backs, and sure enough, here he is.
And just like you mentioned with Reggie Streeter about the hard yards that he, pounded out in the 98 yards that he had, Ezekiel Love, game in and game out, seems to make 176 yards look easy. No matter how many carries that he ends up getting, it looks easy. It helps him control the ball. And as you know, OJ Bruin, a rookie quarterback, it helps him out. And then you go to the other side of the ball. Last season, that defense led the league in turnovers and turnover differential. And they're basically doing the same thing this season. I don't know what the differential is as far as the turnovers. I don't think they're, getting as many as they used to. But that secondary, a bunch of ball hawks over there. The defensive line, they're going to put pressure on the quarterback. Derwin Wavo had a couple of sacks in this game. Bob Funk had a pick six. And that's how they're going to beat you. They're going to pound the rock with Z. I don't even want to call it pounding. He's going to break a 20, 30, 40-yard run here or there and protect that QB. And then the defense is going to come at you. These guys send a lot of blitz packages and things like that and keep teams off balance. And Portland, they're going to definitely be a force to be reckoned with coming down the stretch of the rest of this season.
Totally agree. On the 12th, the Tulsa Desperados took on the St. Louis Gladiators at Gateway Coliseum. And St. Louis won 20-0.
Yeah.
Tulsa had 187 yards passing, 39 yards rushing, 226 yards total. Their time possession was 16 minutes, 11 seconds with 3 mistakes. St. Louis had 247 yards passing, 126 yards rushing, for 373 yards total. Their time possession was 27 minutes and 7 seconds with 1 mistake. Player of the game was tight end Phil Koss. Hope I got that right. 13 receptions, 140 yards, 10.8 yards per catch. So obviously, defenses were not in the game, man. And apparently Tulsa just, I don't know what to say. When you score no points, I see you got 187 yards passing, but 39 yards rushing, but nothing to show for it. What happened, y'all?
You said one of the problems, 39 yards rushing. You got one of the best running backs.
One of the best
in SFL history. The guy who preceded me in Baltimore went to Tulsa, Sanzo Robinson, and he only gets 39 yards rushing. That's
ridiculous.
That's frustrating, to say the least. And you got a rookie quarterback who needs some support. And what's the best support is getting your running game going to help him out. So once they get Sanzo Robinson more involved, they seem to be, more on point on offense. And then on top of that, the other team, their fullback and their running back combined for those 126 yards. Martinez had 84, Cherry had the rest. So their running game's going. That's helping their quarterback out. And then their defense, Colin Douglas, Jell Winkler, 1 INT each. Out of the 3.
I feel like this game says more about Tulsa than it does about St. Louis. Take nothing away from what St. Louis did as a team. They held them to 0 points. They played a good game. But I think this speaks about Tulsa's inability to put their players where they need to be. So you have a rookie quarterback, right? So how do you help your rookie quarterback? Like T-Roy already talked about, he talked about, using your running back effectively. But another thing people talk about is a rookie quarterback or a nervous quarterback's best friend is his tight end, right? So if you take a look, so then that's the first thing I looked at when you're talking about a rookie quarterback. Take a look at their tight end, Jason France, one of the better tight ends in the SFL. Look at how many times he touched the rock. Let me help. You don't even have to look because he didn't touch the rock. So zero touches. And maybe Tulsa, I'm not looking to change teams, but they need to find some offensive coordinator help if they're not figuring out how to get the rock into Jason Francis' hands. Because anytime you can't even, you can't score any points, you can't get in the field goal range and make a field goal rather. So I feel like they didn't necessarily. So you had 0 touches for your tight end and only 8 touches for your running back. And then on top of that, you got, everybody knows, the highest paid wide receiver in the game. And he ends up, and I closed it out. I apologize, but I know he didn't have a great game. I think he had 7 receptions for like 55 yards or something, if I'm remembering correctly. So they need to find a way to get those players. They've got some good players on their team. You know, Sanzo Robinson and Gabriel Manning alone, you know, is a great squad. You know, that's a Hall of Fame wide receiver and a Hall of Fame running back. So to have Gabriel Manning with only 55 yards, you know, and then Jason France with 0 receptions, that's got to change. They got to find a way to get Jason France involved in the game.
And just for the sake of us being accurate, JQ is actually in his second season. Yeah. So, but I've been asking this question, you know, just in my own head and in other circles, really for 3 or 4 seasons now. And with this type of panel, I'm curious, why doesn't or why can't Tulsa get Sanzo Robinson more involved? I've been around since season 14. I'm like, I really feel like this guy should be one of the top running backs in the league.
He is.
I mean,
he's just he's not being played like it.
But the numbers don't, pan that out.
Nerves.
I'm with you.
He's
Bo.
never gotten the ball.
But
Nerves too.
Exactly. But when he does, they seem to be a whole lot more effective. And I'm with you, Bo, because one thing I did mention to Cam behind the scenes, I think this weekend was, where is Jason France? I've been asking that question all season long. Where is he? I hadn't seen a whole lot out of Gabriel Manning this season, even though he had 7 catches. It's like a rudderless ship. You don't know which way they want to go. Yep. I don't feel like people are being utilized the way they should be utilized. And in turn, I think it showed this weekend. I think St. Louis took advantage of everything that they figured Tulsa will do or in turn failed to do offensively. And I think they took advantage of that.
Also add on to running back Nurse, but that's another story for another day.
Okay, nerfing the running back down.
Yeah, but Sanzo's been around for years. I won't say he's nerfed. I won't say that at all. Sanzo could be a beast if used appropriately. Mm-hmm. To me, that reminds me of he's not being used appropriately. You have to find out what your running back strengths are, and you have to play to those, right? Just like Ike is a power back, she plays like a power back. Right. So, but then you got DJ Moses. Every running back is different, but you have to find what their strengths are. So again, this goes back to whoever, and I don't know who the OC is there in Tulsa. I'm not trying to put anybody out of work, but maybe they need to do a little bit more work on how to use their receivers, their tight end, especially because with 2K8 loves the tight end. So it's like, if you do a short route, those tight ends that's almost a guaranteed 5 to 7 yards every time. So how the OC hasn't figured that out yet and put more usage in with Jason France, I don't know yet. But I think that's the problem, because it's not Sanzo.
I remember the first time I was getting ready when I got Arizona, our first season we were playing Tulsa. And back then he wasn't getting the ball that much. But I just remember running Sims, and I couldn't help but notice that when he did touch the ball, he was effective. Why he doesn't get the ball, I have no idea, because he is clearly a top 5 worthy running back. And why they don't get him the ball, I don't know.
Well, maybe I should get Dion and them on the show and ask, because that's a good question. Sioux Falls Sparrows took on the Charleston Predators, and at Fort Moultrie Memorial Stadium. Guys, did I say that right?
Nope. I don't know.
Fort Moultrie.
Moultrie. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sioux Falls at 169 yards. Oh, I'm sorry. And the Charleston Predators won 15-10. Sioux Falls had 169 yards passing, 31 yards rushing for 200 yards total. Their time possession was 16 minutes, 13 seconds with 5 mistakes. Charleston had 184 yards passing, 127 yards rushing, 311 yards total. Their time of possession was 26 minutes, 43 seconds with 3 turnovers. Player of the game was Keith Swearingen, 33 attempts, 119 yards, 1 touchdown, and 43 reception yards. So, gentlemen, looks like the mistakes were one of the reasons why Sioux Falls took that L. Do you think?
Well, yeah, that's possible. They also had a missed field goal in there, mixed in there.
Both teams.
Yeah, both teams had missed field goals. Sioux Falls probably have me scratching my head with question marks as well as to about what do they want to do, because I don't know how many you guys actually saw this game. I happen to really pay attention to a lot of this game. Sioux Falls changed up everything this week. They don't have any tight ends on the roster. They went 4 wide, but then all of a sudden this week, as you can see by the score in some of this offense, Sioux Falls went straight power game. They went to a bunch of power sets, 3 backs in the backfield, 2 tight ends, and switched up everything. I don't know if they just because they've scrapped what they used to do. They've been trying to do this season and mid-season, but at the same time, they probably did it against the wrong team, because this is how Charleston wants to play. They want to play tight, low-scoring games, and as you mentioned, Swearingen 33 carries. That's what they want to do, and pretty much played into their hands. They led most of this game in a tight game, but one mistake at the end. I think that everything turned on that missed field goal, and Charleston scored late, and they did try a 2-point conversion to go up by 7, but they didn't need it. That's why we ended up with that hard score of 15-10. They tried a 2-point conversion that they didn't convert. But that's how Charleston's been winning most of their games all season anyway.
This was another game, where Colin Hart was MIA too. I mean, he had even though, Mike, you point out that they were trying this power running game, he only has 12 carries for 20 yards. Colin Hart. I just don't understand it. You've got a beast of a running back and you're not using him effectively.
I wonder, is it the AI thing that's if it's not just calling the play, or is it a coaching thing to where they're not just inputting the right play to get the most out of that particular player? Like when we were talking about Tulsa. I wonder what that is.
It's both, and I'll tell you why. They allow us to adjust, as we talked about, actually, the run-pass ratio. Mm-hmm. But you can do that all day long, and it won't necessarily affect the play calling, because, like, the AI tends to like heavy sets and base personnel. They'll call that more than anything else. And if you don't have much of that in your playbook, I don't care what you put that run ratio at, it's not going to matter. They're going to come out there with what you have in the playbook. So it's kind of a mixed bag, and it's one of the more talked about things on this channel as far as trying to control that, or I should say control, but get the AI to do what you want it to do. But it's not always easy, because if you make some significant changes to your playbook and then go out there and expect to see one thing, you're gonna see you can expect to see something totally different and not be surprised by it, because if you haven't ran several sims with it, it just doesn't matter. And even when you do, when your opponent makes changes too that you weren't expecting, you're gonna see different stuff. So it's always, I tell people all the time, this game is like a chess match, man. You can have everything lined up, you think everything is sweet, and then all of a sudden, like say again, for example, Lone Star playing this week, I can run 10 sims and win all 10, but it doesn't matter, because if they making changes that I'm not expecting, you just don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. So. Gotcha. Game of the week for me was the London Knights taking on the Baltimore Vultures at Vultures Field, where Baltimore won 58-34.
Yeah.
The Knights had 562 yards passing, but only 8 yards rushing, for 570 yards total. Time of possession was 22 minutes, 37 seconds, with 7 turnovers. Baltimore had 317 yards passing, 130 yards rushing, for 447 yards total. Their time of possession was 20 minutes, 55 seconds, with 2 mistakes. Quarterback Jack Wigmore was the player of the game with 21 completions out of 36 attempts, 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 101.3. Gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all take over this. I'm
gonna set this one out.
Yeah, no.
I bet you T-Roy ain't gonna sit it out.
Nope.
No, I actually have some comments about this game. I'm
Do
just
your
kidding.
thing, man.
But I'm not. Go ahead. Someone else take.
Well, I'll go first because I got a big mouth, so I'll go first. But one thing I'm gonna say this one thing, and I'm gonna leave it to the rest of y'all. I have said since last year that London seems to have a big issue. Robert Merrill has been regressing for some reason, and I believe that London knows that Robert Merrill is regressing. So much so that they gave their lead running back 5 carries in this entire game. I didn't even think you could do that in with us having the playbook.
Yes, you can. I experienced that last year because I sucked. I had to tell them, give me the ball less because I sucked. So yes, you can.
Well, apparently somebody told them that because Robert Merrill is down. They're purposely trying to avoid giving him the ball. And I mean, I can see why, because when he did get the ball, he didn't do anything with it. And so, granted, London's got perhaps one of the best wide receiver duos in the league in Vin Kalia and yours truly, Mike St. Green.
I'll argue one of the best Sarah and Storm is
Sarah and Storm, yes. Trios, probably the best trio if we're going to count all three. Because you could be a WR2.
We're not the best trio. I think we played the team with the best trio, but
you could be. Well, they're undefeated, so I will one of the best trios. How about that? But
I'll settle for that.
You could be a WR2 without a problem in most teams.
You can be a WR1.
Yeah. So, but my point is,
I am a WR2. But
are you? Okay. Well, let me be quiet on that. So, but my point is, when you already know what London's going to have to do because their running game is non-existent, basically, it kind of handcuffs London. And until London can find some way to get a semblance of a running game, teams are going to know how to play you guys. And I think that's going to be an issue until you guys figure that part out.
You can't have your quarterback drop back 77 times in a game and expect to win the game.
Not going to happen.
You cannot do it. They gave up 7 interceptions. They gave up 7 sacks.
You almost can't even blame Johnny for that because you're asking too much.
That's right.
I'm going to go for. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
All right. So going back to last year, London is facing the same problem my team faced last year. I was not producing well. So that made us super one-dimensional. We had to ask Jack Whitmore to carry us. And we were lucky enough to get to the semifinals. If we had a running game last year, we probably could have made it to the championship game. We did not. I made a decision to switch to fullback, and we drafted Jimmy. And our running game has gotten better. At least it's better than what it was last season, in my opinion. Shout out to you, Jimmy, for having won another great game, getting 100 yards rushing and 2 TDs. So
there you go.
Shout out to you. I'm very happy. He's the reason why I drafted him. So let's give me a heads up on that one. So you have to. London's got to make a decision of maybe a tough one. I hated to have to make that decision to switch to fullback after being in the spotlight for so long, but I felt like it was best for the team. And to be honest with you, I wasn't ready to go on the O-line, so that wasn't happening. So I just made the switch to fullback, and at least that gives us a little bit more of a chance to run the ball consistently. London has to make that decision. I know they got great weapons. Robert Merrill's a 3-time champion, if I'm not mistaken, right? 3-time champion.
Yes.
So he's good. They just got to find something to help their running game out so they can be less one-dimensional because they got all the stars. Johnny's great quarterback. Unfortunately, he had a worse game interception-wise. But the 562, that's insane. That normally gets you wins. 4 touchdowns, that normally gets you wins. Mike St. Green and Vin Kalia, 3 touchdowns combined, 312 yards receiving, 25 receptions. That normally gets you wins. So once they figure out that running game, London is going to be more of a threat than they are now. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'll say this real quick about the 77 dropbacks. I think the score and circumstances of the game pretty much kind of dictated that at the time. I mean, we were down 20 something points. Sorry for the lights flashing. We had a hurricane down here this morning. We were down 21 very, very early. And turnovers were a part of that. I'm try to be careful not to feel like I'm throwing any teammates out under the bus, but I'll tell anybody when I'm on the show, I'm just going to call it like I pretty much see it. And we were down early. I mean, extremely early. Baltimore scored first possession. I want to say maybe 3 plays. London's very first play was an interception, and 1 play later we're down 14-0 before we even ran 2 plays. So I just think the circumstances kind of dictated that. I do know for a fact that London wants to get the running game, more prevalent. He's probably not going to. You're not going to see 20, 30 carries. I just think that'll take away from what we would like to do. But I do know that they want it to be more prevalent than what it is, and I don't think we need Robert to do more than maybe 15 carries, 50, 60 yards. As long as it's effective 50 or 60 yards, I think that'll, get us what we would want to do. But no, they don't want Johnny to drop back 77 times. It just happened to be, we were down 21, 24, and trying to, come back from the very 5 minutes into the game. I just think that kind of dictated that. If you look at our games from the rest of the season, I would be surprised if he threw the ball more than 50 times. We probably may have done that a game or 2, but I don't think we've done that a whole lot. But, thing is, we were going up against a team with basically, in my opinion, 4 MVP candidates, as well as if you want to add in the defensive player of the year guys. But Saron Yates could be an MVP, a league MVP. I think Giovanni Bolt could be a league MVP. I think Ivory Irving could be a candidate for league MVP, if not offensive player of the year.
The whole daggone team.
Yeah, like I said, 4. They have 4 MVP candidates. Jack Wigmore. So it's just going to be a tough team to beat. And then
Mac Chima too.
Yeah, you got Mac Chima. He's one of the top receivers in the league. And then the week before, Daley Holder got one of my game balls because he's a wide receiver 3 with 100 yards and a touchdown.
Wow.
So, it's just a beast of a team. And it was a bad team for us to be going up against with very similar styles. They just do what we like to do better than us. They just did it better. And I pretty much knew that it was going to be a tough game, that, it was going to be a miracle to win. And pretty much it's going to be that for anybody that goes up against Baltimore right now. I mean, they're just the best team in the league. And I would say on paper, but on the field, they're proving that. And you're going to have to bring your A game to beat the Vultures this whole season.
I'm going to say this. It was talked about that Merrill perhaps isn't good enough. And I don't necessarily agree with that because we don't know. Coming in, after this game, he has a total of 85 carries for the entire season through 8 games. That's like 10.2 carries a game. That's not enough of a sample size to say someone isn't good enough. I've seen him. I can't remember if it was this past game versus Baltimore or the one previous. He caught a screen or something, and he juked the crap out of somebody and was out of there. And I said, dang. I said, they need to find a way to get this dude the ball because he's better than what people are giving him credit for. And
absolutely.
He needs to be more involved. And to me, any running back in the league, any starter should be getting at least 18 carries a game. Yep. Somewhere between 15 and 20, preferably like 18.
I forget what we were talking about before.
Real quick, Eddie. He does lead the league in receptions. He has 76 receptions.
Bro, I need to see that dude with the peel running. Yeah, it's cool. He's a league leader among running backs and receptions, but he leads everybody. He actually led the league last season in total reception. He's leading the league right now. When he played us, he had like 10 catches.
Yeah, he gets touches.
Matter of fact, when he played us last season, he had 1 carry for 5 yards and a touchdown. You guys need to get him the ball, bro.
Not just receptions. I know what you're saying, Eddie. We were talking about another running back earlier tonight. We said he needs to be used in a better way. I forget who it was, but
Sonzo.
Yeah, Sonzo. I would say the same thing applies for Robert Merrill because Robert Merrill, if used effectively, he could be not just an effective screen pass receiver. Right, he could be an effective runner. I've seen him juke some people. I would love
to see you guys put him in like a week power hour on a stretch or something like that, and just see how he does.
I agree.
So I'm not saying the season's over with by no means. No, I'm just saying, if it gets to the point where you guys are out of it, experiment with them during the game, not just during sims. Put them in some different formations and have them running, and put him out in space and see how he does. Because that dude, I think he's better than people give him credit for.
Agreed.
Gotcha.
I agree somewhat, but like I said, I know what London wants to do. I know what they like to do, and I think he's somewhat effective. Because I've seen games this season. Obviously, he's not going to get 20, 25 carries, like I said, but I've seen games where he has gotten that 10 to 15 carries and 50, 60 yards and been effective. But basically, to keep some teams off balance, we can't be super one-dimensional like that. But you got to start being able to keep some teams off balance. I get it.
Teams are coming out versus you versus nickel and dime and just forget the 4-3. And that can't happen because it just makes it too easy to defend. Take it from a guy who's struggling to try and get consistency out of DJ. DJ looks great in sims, and I'm like, I'm taking pictures, send it to DJ because DJ he takes it personal, just like forgive me, this guy right here, Baltimore,
T-Roy.
Oh, just like
yeah, he right there.
I know he's sitting right here. Just like T-Roy takes it personal, DJ takes it personal, and he gets all down himself. Like when he fumbled last season versus Denver in the playoffs, he took it to heart. He was down on himself. I'm like, bro, it ain't you, man. It just is what it is. I say my players all the time. Only I can ask you guys to do is progress and progress on time. If you're doing that, being a good teammate, being positive in gen chat in the locker room, that's all I can ever ask for any of y'all. But he took it personal. So trust me when I say, take it from a guy who trying to get DJ going. DJ, season 14, was one of the better running backs in the league. And since then, I have not got that kind of productivity out of him. And I can't figure out why. I've tried different run plays. I've tried different, God knows what. And Sims, it looks freaking awesome. Like, man, DJ gonna finally break out. And versus some teams, I know he's gonna break out. Like, I'm not gonna put names out there, but it's versus some teams, I know he's gonna have a great game. And I sent him a DM and say, DJ, you going off today because we playing so-and-so and they defense versus the run, it is what it is. But it's other games where I expect him to do well, he don't. And I can't put a finger out on why I can't get him going. So trust me when I say, you just got to figure it out what works best for him. Because I try to figure out, I go and watch Portland games, say, okay, I'm going to put these run plays in there and see how DJ does. And it doesn't work the same. So you just got to figure out what works best for your running back and curtail your offensive running game to that. Because he got too much talent. I seen that dude open field, like, damn, that dude, I'm sorry. I'm like, dang, this dude, he's better than what people are saying he is. And he needs to get the ball more so y'all can figure out how to use him.
All right. Now, before I move on, so Bo, are you still seeing Matt Chima in your dreams?
Dang, come on, Ashley.
Hey, every time I hear that name, I have like PTSD. It's like
I remember he was on the show and you said that, bro. I laughed for like even afterwards when I was editing the show. I just laughed for 5 minutes straight, I swear.
Yo, I had to go to therapy for a few sessions after that to try to get rid of that because I was having flashbacks.
I bet you were.
And it wasn't even me he was burning. But it just me being in the defensive backfield. I just was like, God, every time I look up, this dude is incredible. But yeah, but they're yeah. If it ain't Mac Chima, it's gonna be one of the other two. So you can't win for losing with them.
That's right. So the Jacksonville Kings took on the Mexico City Aztecs at Estadio Azteca, and Mexico won 47-16.
Yeah.
Jacksonville had 398 yards passing, 30 yards rushing, 428 yards total. Their time of possession was 19 minutes and 11 seconds with 3 turnovers. Mexico had 291 yards passing, 170 yards rushing for 461 yards total. Their time of possession was 23 minutes, 58 seconds with no mistakes. Player of the game was Phoenix Jones with 18 attempts, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 52 reception yards. So it looks like Mexico played a clean game, had a better rushing game, and held the ball longer. I think that's the reason why they won this game.
I called this game this past weekend, and that game was over with somewhere late in the second quarter. And it was crazy because they didn't do it through Phoenix Jones. They did it with a passing game. Phoenix Jones had kind of like a slow day until I think it was right before half. It's like maybe 5-6 seconds left. And we thinking they're going to just run the clock out and go into the locker room. It was like maybe 60-65 yards away from the end zone. They get a good ball to Phoenix Jones. He was out of there, like a 60-yard touchdown. I'm like, oh my God. And the game was over after that, to the point where me and DeMond was talking about other stuff just to try to keep the crowd entertained in the game. And man, I mean, Mexico City, they traditionally do it, you know, through Phoenix Jones. As he goes, their offense goes, but not this week. They did it through the passing game, but in the second half, Phoenix Jones kind of did go off a bit, and man, they just on a different level right now.
Yeah, to your point, they were 27-6 at the half, but you know, 14 of those points were off of Jacksonville turnovers too. Yep. So I mean, that was, you know, they had control of the game and they just didn't give it up.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just add this about Mexico City. Eddie saw the show. I mean, Mexico City, you know, Cam and I's wrap-up show. Mexico City are probably playing like the second most complete team in the league right now. You know, besides Baltimore. I don't want to take anything away from Florida. They're playing real good right now as well. But Mexico City seems to be more explosive in a lot of ways. With, you know, they Jason Bartley had a couple of touchdowns, receptions. We saw Jacob McCall sighting once they released Nate Ritters a couple weeks ago. Jacob McCall had a touchdown catch this weekend, and then as you mentioned, Phoenix Jones. I mean, the huge run right before the half, and at that point, like you said, Eddie, we hadn't seen anything out of them in that game, and they were already up 20-6. Yeah. And then third quarter, he followed that up with another 30, one of the best 32-yard runs we've seen this season, down the sidelines, running over people, stiff arming, and then aside from that, man, Ray Bentley, I mean, he doesn't get a lot of touches, but the last couple of weeks when he does get touches, man, he's been a beast. And they just seem to be clicking right now. They had a couple of bad games there, back to back, and but man, Mexico City, they've bounced back, and I know Ramos, I know that he knows what he's doing over there. I really expected Mexico City to struggle with the rookies that they have in their secondary, but they figured out a way to cover those guys up, and that defense is looking good, and offense is clicking. They're gonna be tough down the stretch as well. And but I want to add one thing. Yeah, and I want to just add one thing about Jacksonville. Yeah, we know they were in a total rebuild, but offensively, I'm used to them doing more of the quick outs and ball control thing and things like that. What can anybody comment on? Why do they feel like Jacksonville has gone to this more or less of a deep passing game and giving up on the kind of quick out and short ball control game? And talking about a team not getting a running back involved, Jared Willis's last 100-yard game was the first game of season 16, and dude is typically a beast and had been up until that point. And I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with that offense, especially this season.
When they drafted those 4 offensive linemen, I thought to myself, they about to get Jared Willis going, and so far it hasn't happened. Yeah. Now, granted, like you said, they got what they draft, like 8-9 players, whatever it was.
4 offensive linemen. I don't even think they drafted a defensive back. They finally drafted a couple of linebackers because they didn't have any linebackers on the roster. Right. So I've been scratching my head since really the end of the last season as to what direction they're going in. But to see, the passing game struggling the way it is, I really didn't think they'd ever have a problem with that.
I'll take a guess, Mike, at why they're doing it. I think maybe it has a lot to do with Marcus Dunhill. So, I mean, you know, everybody, you know, remembers how great Marcus Dunhill used to be. And so I think maybe they're trying to get a little bit of that old magic back, you know, from the Marcus Dunhill of old, back when he was, you know, when he led his team to the championship victory out there in Atlanta. And so, you know, I think maybe they're hoping to get that magic back, but it just hasn't been working for them. And I think they got away from what they failed to realize how much of a part of the team that Jared Willis used to be last year. You know what I mean? When they had, what was it, Christensen, I think, when they had him, and, you know, of course, he was prone to interceptions, so they kind of had to lean on Jared more. But now all of a sudden they've got Marcus Dunhill, and they've decided to become this slinging team. And I don't think that fits them. I think they should have stuck with you know, what they had, you know, and then kind of eased Marcus Dunhill back into slinging the rock. But they just dialed it all the way up and just said, let it go. And I think they kind of should have just took their time with it and worked their way towards where they're trying to get to.
And those who were here since season 10, the 2 seasons that Jacksonville back then, Tallahassee, made it to the championship against then Alaska back to back, their offense was not one-dimensional. They had Duke Wilson and Kenny G with Christensen, and then they had Jai Iniola.
Oh my God!
You remember that guy? He still is the single season rushing leader in the SFL.
Jay Iniola or something like that.
Jay or Jai, I forgot how they pronounce it. But that dude was a beast. I wanted to join the league and try to be like him. I kept telling every team that interviewed me, I want to be like him. Because I like how he progressed during season 10 and then just destroy everybody in season 11. Once, you know, Jacksonville gets back to that type of mentality. Oh my God, they're gonna be scary.
That offense was almost unstoppable.
Yes, it was. Only team that really figured him out was Alaska.
And then retired.
Yeah, he retired during the middle of season 12, I believe.
Yep.
Well, has Jacksonville struggled with adjusting to the legend setting? Because the legend setting came in season what?
Last season
16.
Season 16, because season 15, Jared Willis, you know, he was still doing things on the ground, but and like I said, season 16, I thought we were going to see more of that. Very first game against Houston last season 16, he had over 150 yards, but that is the last 100-yard game he's had since then. So is it trouble adjusting to the settings, or is
he had legend settings last year though, Mike?
I'll say it again, Bo.
He had legend settings last season.
Exactly. So that's exactly. So
he didn't have difficulty with it then.
No, that's what I'm saying. Season 16, yes. I mean, he had the 100-yard game, and that was it. Yeah. The very first game of season 16, he had a 100-yard game, and no more after that. And I don't think he's had a 100-yard game since. So is that a strategy thing? Because we know he can, what he's capable of as a player, or is that something else?
If I may, maybe it's, you know how some teams are known for doing certain things, like when you think of Sioux Falls, like they're known for their run game. Jacksonville was always known to be sort of a more pass-oriented team. From me watching them from season, like the championship of season 11 coming into the league, it just seems like they're one of those teams that does like to pass the ball. So I think maybe that's what Gooding was actually trying to mold his team, is more of a pass happy, I would say, offense versus utilizing everyone. Maybe they're trying something different. Maybe, like you said, with the legend settings, people are so used to dealing with APF in a certain way, and then when you change it up on them, it's kind of difficult for some to adjust, as we saw over the past couple of seasons with Queen City and with Sioux Falls. So I'm thinking that maybe they're just trying to find their niche. And Marcus loves to pass. That's what he does. That's what he did in Atlanta. So it's probably what they're trying to do too.
Well, one thing I will add, and one guy we're forgetting, as you mentioned Christensen, he retired, but Ken Gossett retired as well, and that was automatic 100 receptions every season. And that's what Jacksonville. I was on the team for 2 seasons. Yeah, that's what they want to do. But it was also a certain balance that they had on that team. Jared Willis was going to get his rushes, so it was more of a West Coast short passing game, and they were going to get Willis involved, both in the flats as well as rushing. Like I said, I know this season I don't see much of a short passing game at all. So I don't know if I don't know what their outlook on what they want to, how they want to go moving forward.
Gotcha. Second to last game was the San Diego Mavericks taking on the Fort Worth Toros and the Stockyards, and the Fort Worth Toros won 44-23. San Diego had 342 yards passing, 65 yards rushing for 407 yards total. Their time of possession was 20 minutes, 37 seconds with 3 mistakes. The Toros had 337 yards passing, 164 yards rushing for 501 yards total. Their time of possession was 22 minutes and 40 seconds with 1 mistake. Player of the game was Jason Williams. 23 attempts, 159 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 15 reception yards. So with this game, I think the Toros won this game because they got Jason Williams so involved with 164 yards of rushing. That's pretty impressive, and I think that was one of the reasons, besides them only having one mistake, was the reason that the Toros won this game.
Well, back to what they do best, and that's running the ball, controlling the clock, getting the second half lead, and just milking the clock out. And it's been a while since we can say that about them, but they got it going this week, man. I mean, the defense was on point. I mean, they didn't really so much as I should say wow you, but they did enough, to make San Diego's offense uncomfortable. And that's how Fort Worth's offense is built. If they can get a second half lead and their running game is going, man, that's a tough team to overcome.
In the first half, their passing game was what carried them through. They dominated in the first half with their passing game, and their passing game was flawless too. Cameron Curtis didn't throw any picks, got his receivers involved, but Jason Williams only had 2 yards rushing in the first half. But boy, when you get into the second half, they started feeding him the rock, and he ends up with 159 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. And it was, each half was just a different style of play, but they dominated both halves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as Will just mentioned, that was the passing game was a huge key in the first half of this game. You saw, because a lot of what Fort Worth were doing last season was getting the tight ends involved with, Robert Garrett Jr. We would see him a lot. We would see Stephen Hacker, and we saw, Hacker had a touchdown in the first half as well. And for the first time all season, I felt like we saw the Fort Worth that we thought we were going to see from week 1.
Gotcha. Anybody else? All right. Well, the Queen City Corsairs took on the Florida Storm, and Florida won in the eye, and Florida won 24-20.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, I didn't have the graphics. The game was cut before the player of the game was selected and before the graphics. So I'm actually reading what's on the website, but I'm gonna let you guys name who you think would be the player of this game. So Queen City had 180 yards passing, 106 yards rushing for 286 yards total. Their time possession was 23 minutes and 51 seconds with 1 mistake. Florida had 253 yards passing, 135 yards rushing for 388 yards total. Their time possession was 20 minutes and 9 seconds with, looks like, 4 mistakes, if I'm reading that correctly.
That's right.
All right. And so I am trying to figure out, who do you think that player of the game wins? And how did Florida win this game with the 4 mistakes that they made?
I won't go into too much detail, but I think what shocked Flo, I'm sure if you ask Max Paul, he'll say the same thing. And I don't want to give too much away because sometimes as a coach, you got to do your own homework. But one thing that stuck out to me about this game, and I'm sure it shocked Max too, is that Queen City tweaked something defensively that they hadn't done all season, which is what I'm sure led to those turnovers that Ron had, because Ron doesn't typically throw a lot of interceptions in one game. So to see him throw 4, that's gonna impress anybody. But it's because Queen City did some things with their defense that they hadn't done, like I said, all season. And I'm sure when the game started in the first 3-4 minutes, Max said, uh-oh, because he saw what they was doing and he knew that he would have some challenges. And sure enough, Ron had some mistakes. But as bad as Ron played, their defense kept them in that game and stopped things from getting carried away. Because if it had their defense not, and Ron had to come back from a deficit late in the fourth, because of what Queen City did defensively that was different, it would have been very difficult for Florida to do so. But thankfully, they were playing with a lead late, trying to preserve it rather than trying to come back from a deficit. Because had they had to do so, they'd have been hurting. But shout out to Queen City, even though they lost, man, they did their thing out there, man. Their defense was balling all game long. They got Jet Zero involved. They were controlling the clock. But unfortunately for them, they weren't able to finish enough drives with points in terms of touchdowns. And that's what ultimately led them to losing that game.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, well, it would have to be Bullet. That was the player of the game, Charlie Boletsky. How can you say you're not the player of the game when as a running back you average 11 yards per carry? I mean, he had 12 rushes for 140 yards. Okay,
and one of them was crazy.
And one of them was
64 yards doesn't help.
Yep, yeah. 64 yards straight down here, just spin, move, and gone.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that when you got a running back producing those kind of numbers, it kind of helps you to overcome mistakes. And I think that's what saved Ron Cochran, is because every time Bullet touched the ball, he was gone. Or anytime you can get your running back to get you a first down whenever you touch the rock, you can't beat that. So yeah, phenomenal game by him.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, then. We are going to, first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for going over week 8. Very insightful, very informative, and I appreciate all of your opinions about the different things. Hopefully people, take the advice that you're giving, to heart and, kind of listen, maybe try some things up, think outside the box. That's how you win. When people aren't expecting what you're going to do, that's how you do your thing. But we're going to slide over to our pick'ems for week 9. Now, gentlemen, if you could just tell me which team that you are going for, then we can kind of progress a little bit quicker, because I do want to get to the question that I have, because I'm very interested in knowing what your thoughts are about that. But on Saturday, September the 18th, at 3:00 p.m., the Fort Worth Toros will be taking on the Houston Hyenas on SFL's Twitch channel. And Hyenas will be at home. I think I'm going to go with the Toros on this one.
It's hard. I'll go with Houston.
Okay.
Fort Worth.
Houston.
That's almost a pick 'em for me. But because it's in Houston, I'm going to say Houston.
Yeah, that's why I said Houston.
Fort Worth.
Yeah, I'm going Fort Worth also.
All right, gotcha.
That a split 3-3?
Yeah.
I think it was.
And then at 3:20 on SFL's YouTube channel, the St. Louis Gladiators will be taking on the San Diego Mavericks. It's going to be a great game. San Diego will be at home, but I think that I'm going to go with the Gladiators to steal this one.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
I'm going to say San Diego, and I'm saying San Diego because I don't want to be the only team to lose to them this season. So I'm going to San Diego.
I'm going to say San Diego.
All right, gotcha.
I'm going to go St. Louis, Ashley.
St. Louis? All right, gotcha. The Carolina Skyhawks will be taking on the London Knights.
London.
Can I get it out? In Queensway at 5 p.m. Eastern on SFL's Twitch channel. And because you guys are at home, I am going to go for London.
Okay, officially London.
You're right, T-Roy. This is a tough game to pick.
Yeah. I love both teams. I love players from both sides. I'm picking London.
I'm going to pick London only because I have inside knowledge that's informing me, but that the Sims and Carolina are not going so well. So I'm going to go London.
Well, never mind. Never mind.
Mike wants to change his vote.
No. Nothing. I'll let that stay where it is.
Yeah.
Let me guess, your Sims not going so well either.
I'm not running any Sims, but nothing. I'll leave it alone. London.
All right.
London at home, Ashley.
London at home. Yep.
London. Yep, London.
London all the way. All right. The Sioux Falls Sparrows will be taking on the Las Vegas Fury in Las Vegas at 5:20 p.m. on SFL's YouTube channel. Great game. Sparrows are struggling going for Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Sioux Falls defense gonna step up this weekend.
Okay.
Watch their defense. They're gonna step up.
I got Las Vegas.
Yep, Las Vegas.
Who did Vegas play this past week?
Atlanta? Was it Atlanta?
Yeah, Atlanta
Yeah.
beat them. So, Las Vegas.
Okay.
I'm going to say Vegas, but they've also had another coaching change. But I'm going to go Vegas.
All right then.
They've had another coaching change?
Golly.
Wow.
Wow. The Mexico City Aztecs will be taking on the Denver Night Wings in Denver at 7 p.m. Also on September the 18th on SFL's Twitch channel. I am going for the Mexico City Aztecs.
Mexico City.
Agreed. Mexico City.
Mexico City.
Mexico.
Max.
Denver's in my division, Mexico City.
The Vancouver Legion will be taking on the Tulsa Desperados at 7:20 p.m. on SFL's YouTube channel. And I got to go with Vancouver on this one, even though Desperados will be at home.
Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver bounces back.
This is going to be ugly. Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver.
Damn. I wasn't going to say all that, but I'll say Vancouver, though.
I'm sorry, Eddie. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm going Vancouver.
Tell me it's going to be Vancouver by 3. Can you say that?
Yes.
Oh.
At least by 3.
Of course, at least.
On Sunday, September the 19th, for the fans, Next Level Twitch channel, the Baltimore Vultures will be taking on the Jacksonville Kings. Jacksonville will be at home at 2:00 p.m. I know somebody that's not going to choose, but I'm going to go with Baltimore, even though Jacksonville is at home.
No comment.
Baltimore.
I'm gonna be nice and simply say Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore.
I'm studying the playbook.
He's the scout. He's the scout.
You scout? You scout?
Studying the playbook. That's all I know. Is just studying the playbook. I'm trying to be the best running back in the league. That's all I'm trying to do.
I got you.
And I'm trying not to jinx my team, so no comment.
Gotcha. The Charleston Predators will be taking on the Florida Storm at 2:40 p.m. on SFL's Twitch channel. And going to be a great game. Florida will be at home, and I'm going with Florida.
Yep, Florida.
Yeah. Charleston looks a lot better than they used to, but I'm still going Florida.
Agree.
Yep.
Charleston offense has improved, but I'm going Florida.
Yeah, this has potential to be one of the best games of the week, but
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm going to go Florida as well.
Gotcha. At 4:25 p.m. for the fans Twitch channel, the Portland Fleet will be taking on the Los Angeles Vikings. Vikings will be at home. I think Portland is going to go in and sneak a win on them. We'll sneak a win in on them.
Short
Los
answer,
Angeles.
LA.
Yeah, LA.
Short answer, LA.
Is this in Portland or LA?
It's in LA,
Oh,
right?
Pick 'em. Can I say pick 'em?
No,
You
we
can, you
can't
still
do
gotta
that.
pick something.
Can I say
Well, wait a minute. I can't talk because I don't make a pick on a certain team. So
I'm gonna go LA. I think LA may turn over OJ Bruin enough to pull it out.
I'm actually rocking with OJ Bruin this week. My guy, going Portland.
I just had a strange case of deja vu. All of us, same people were in this moment talking about this same game. I don't know what that was about. That's crazy.
This game right here is going to be decided late in the fourth quarter. I don't know who to choose, honestly.
That's why I said pick 'em, because
that's got to be
go either way.
Well, games can't end in a tie. You have to put it out there.
Tell them, Mike.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say just because we beat LA last week, I think they're gonna try their best to rebound. So I'm gonna say LA.
I tell you what, I'm gonna make a decision. LA's pass defense is better than their run defense, so I'm gonna go Portland.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Very good point. Lone Star Glory will be taking on the Arizona Scorpions at 5:15 p.m. on SFL Twitch channel. Of course, I'm going with Arizona.
Are we superstitious, Coach?
I'm not.
All right. Arizona.
I'm the only one that's superstitious here.
Well,
this is tough.
Yeah. Go ahead, T-Roy.
I want to pick Arizona.
Why?
This is a short answer, but why?
Short answer.
Yeah, you said short answer.
Don't be
Arizona.
mad.
I think you guys keep getting DJ more involved like you did last week. That should help you.
This is a game that could get Arizona out of playoff purgatory and maybe into the, part of the conversation this weekend on the wrap-up show. But I like what I've been seeing out of Lone Star the past couple of weeks. I think it's going to be difficult for Arizona to adjust to the passing game that I've been seeing. Greg Soto got involved last week. Dave Axis has been coming on strong. And as Bo's mentioned about Ike McBride, she's going to do what she does. I think it's going to be tough to key on any one thing. And Lone Star at home, I'm going to go Lone Star.
It's actually in Arizona, Mike.
Oh, it's in Arizona. Well, still Lone Star because Arizona have known to lose a bunch of key home games over the past couple of years. So I'm still going to stick with Lone Star.
I like that. No, I like the fact that you stick to your guns. Is what I'm saying.
So you say I wasn't sticking to my guns, Eddie? That's what you said?
Hey man, say it with your chest, man.
I did say it with my chest.
You
That's
did.
why I picked you.
I appreciate it. What's
Eddie,
up, Jimmy?
Eddie, he picked us.
What about, wait, Jim, what'd you say, Jimmy? Who Jimmy picked?
Oh, Jimmy.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with. I'm gonna go with Arizona. You know what time it is. I think.
All right. I see
What's up?
Well,
That's the only thing Arizona got.
Who both going with?
You know what? I put it like this: we LSG has snuck up on a few teams as of late, right?
Yeah,
because we've been underestimated these last. Nobody gave us a shot against LA, and I think that played into our hands. But I will say this: we're not sneaking up on Arizona. So Arizona's y'all rolling out the red carpet for us. We're not gonna be able to creep into town because y'all know we coming because we don't won the last two in a row. That being said, I will say we got a couple tricks up our sleeves, but I'm not in the playbook, so I don't know what we got up our sleeves. But I will say that our offense has made some major strides, and our defense is finally coming together. And so for that reason, I'm going LSG, other than the fact that I played for it.
That's because you're just going against us. It's the only reason why you ain't picking us. It's okay, Bo. Next, Queen City. Queen City is taking on the DC Dragons at 7 p.m. on For the Fans Twitch network. It's going to be a great game, but I am going to go with Queen City on this one. They will be in DC.
Queen City bounces back from these two losses, and Queen City wins.
I agree. Queen City.
Queen City all the way.
You see?
See, now I love Queen City because they got Jay, my former teammate. I am friends with Destro and Mullinax, so this is a hard one for me.
Game, T-Roy.
I know this is hard for me to pick. I'm just letting both teams know this is hard for me.
You trying to make
I'm
people
picking
happy.
DC in upset.
All right.
That'd be a big upset.
Yeah,
It
it would.
would. Now, the last game will be the Atlanta Swarm taking on the Louisiana Revolution at 7:20 p.m.
This is a tough one.
This is
In
on
Louisiana.
SFL, yes, in Louisiana, but on the SFL's Twitch channel. It's going to be a fantastic game. I think I'm going to go with Atlanta to go in Louisiana and win.
Can I take back my potential game of the week? This is
Yeah,
this is
this
going
could
to
be one
be
here too.
this
Yeah,
is
it's gonna be
good.
great.
Potentially and more than likely going to be the game of the week. Both of these defenses have been balling out.
Great running
Man.
backs.
Great running backs. But I'm going to go with the more experienced quarterback in Dynasty. He's getting things turned around. At the end of the day, Tommy Utah's a rookie, and that he's going to have trouble with that ATC, air traffic control secondary. So Atlanta.
Atlanta.
I go with my former team, Atlanta.
ATL.
So this is the second time these two teams played this season, and the first time Reggie got hurt when they got down to like the 3-yard line and didn't come back, and Atlanta won that in a close game that was decided late in the fourth quarter. This game is in Louisiana. Ooh, man, Mark is my dude. I talk to him every day, but I think Louisiana gonna find a way to win this game. Sorry, Mark. Sorry, bro.
Unless I know some folks from Atlanta too, so this is hard. And I know some Louisiana folks. I'm picking Louisiana. This is hard too, but I'm picking Louisiana.
All right, we're gonna see how everybody shakes up, in their pick'ems. And if I have y'all back on next week, remember what you said, okay? All of y'all remember exactly what you said. Guys,
I said nothing.
Yeah, for one game you didn't. But guys, thank you so much for doing pick'ems with me. If you want more information about the league, please visit us at www.simulationfl.net. If you want to find out the channel on your device for which you can watch your game, you can go to itsnextlevel.com and ftfnext.com to get these channels. So, gentlemen, to end things off, I would like for everybody to give me one favorite moment of this season and one disappointing moment of this season. I will say my favorite moment of the season, and this is off field, but it still has to do with the season. Going to the convention, meeting everybody was absolutely my favorite part of this season. A lot of times you talking to people all the time and you don't know what they look like, or you don't know what their type of personality is until they meet you. Or you could be having some issues with somebody, but then when you finally meet them face to face, then everything is, you kind of work out your issues and things like that. So I thought that was fun. It was a great time to have. In the same note, the most disappointing moment for me was going to the convention and watching Arizona lose to Queen City. I'm like, man, I traveled all the way to Houston to see us lose. Hell, I could have stayed at home for that one, save a few bucks. But it was good. It was heartbreaking, especially knowing the circumstances that you went through, Eddie, with that game, particularly thinking that you took something out of the playbook and you didn't. And then when you asked Cam about it and he confirmed that you didn't, man, it broke my heart to see you so emotional like that. But that is football, and I think that was a learning lesson for you as well, to just make sure you're keeping a close eye on that playbook.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go ahead and go, Ashley.
Yeah.
Definitely, the convention was, been the best part of the season for me, and for all the reasons that you mentioned before. But also, one of the coolest things to me was getting an opportunity to watch and experience a game with several teammates. And then, we happen to get, pull out the win in the end, and then to get to go out and celebrate with them. So, it was a true team experience. So, and it was just a cool experience, getting to meet everyone, as you mentioned, and the Hall of Fame and everything involved. And, and meeting people face to face and get to hear so many different stories and things like that. So, that's been the coolest part of the season thus far for me. And probably the most disappointing goes back all the way to week 1, new free agent signing with London and all the hype leading up to it, and disappointed that I didn't get to watch that game and experience that game live because, I was out of town and didn't have really access to be able to see that game. So that was probably thus far the most disappointing part of the season for me.
Gotcha.
All right, Todd, what about you?
Yeah, AJ, I actually personally don't have any disappointing moments. I mean, there's been some disappointing surprises as far as how some teams have continued not to play well that you expect to play well. But my best moment has actually been the locker room and the new season with my new team in Arizona. I've just really enjoyed the whole experience so far, and I'm looking forward to many seasons of that experience.
Free agents, rookies, hear what that man just said? Come over and holler at us in Arizona.
That's right.
We love to have you.
That's right. You look good in orange.
That's right.
Definitely.
Are you going 4 wide next season? You can't afford me, Ada. Don't worry.
I can't afford you. Mike.
Yeah, you can't afford me. I'm out of your price range.
Yeah, my price.
So, Eddie, what about you?
Quickly,
because I know how you like to be telling
obviously the convention, meeting, most of the guys I met before already, but a lot of those guys I hadn't met. So obviously going to the convention and watching the game live with you was real cool, despite the fact that we lost. Picking up Will Todd was big. That's one of my biggest free agents I've ever picked up. To have some help, scouting and all that was Will, bro. From me to you, man. Thank you, sir. Man, that was big time, man. Landing you, man. Arizona, y'all know I love every last one of y'all, but Will, man, thank you, brother, because it's so hard, man. So to have you over there helping me is a blessing. I would never underappreciate. Seeing Cam, everybody that all that was cool. Also, I like to point out every season is new, and when we lost that 3rd straight game to San Diego, I was down on myself, and I had so many teammates DM me and tell me in the locker room, Eddie's gonna be all right, man. We've been through this before. We're gonna bounce back. I'm not even doubting what you can do. To hear that meant a lot to me because, as you know, I get so down on myself and I take every loss personal. And when we lost to Queen City, I just knew I took that play out the playbook, and to find out that I didn't. For y'all that don't know, I went off camera and I was crying in the corner, like tears were coming down my face because all I could think about is how I let my squad down. And I really wanted that win so bad for Mark Mello and for Sean Moore, especially, and to come up short like that, the last minute, lose on that walk-off field goal, because the AI just kept calling that play too, man. I was just so down and out on myself. But y'all never waver, man. Y'all always there for me. And man, you just don't know how much I appreciate that, because I was shedding tears, man, after that, like for real. And it just hurt me deep. And so to bounce back and have 2 straight wins in a row versus Vancouver and LA, and I think it was Sioux Falls and all that, man, that's big time. And but as far as disappointing, losing this 0-16 team, that was, I cried after that game too. I think as far as disappointing, that's probably it. That and losing to Queen City, and because I really wanted those 2 games. But other than that, I love everybody in my locker room. It's not just a slogan, man. I love every last one of y'all. Y'all know that, man, because I just take this game so personal. And even though some of y'all don't really talk, at the end of every season, y'all continue to come back and you tell me why. And man, I just feel like I'm part of a real family in that locker room, because we talk about stuff that's not SFL related all the time, and life and life experiences and family and SFL, and to see all us in that Zoom meeting every time with the video chat, man, that's some, you know, y'all know I'm a nervous wreck on game days. I don't even like talking, but being there with y'all, it kind of calmed me down a little bit because my anxiety is like at an all-time high on game days. I wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, but man, I love this hobby, y'all. I don't know what I would do without the SFL in my life. I gave up motorcycles and everything else, and you know, I take so much time away from my family, my wife, and my kids, and man, I just love this thing, man. And that's about it, y'all. Hopefully, I can bring you a championship, AJ. You be the first female quarterback to win a championship. So,
that would be dope. We're gonna work on it. Damn sure gonna work on it. All right, Bo, what about you?
So for me, a couple of things. The first preseason, I would say, would be the acquisition of J-Mart. For those of y'all who don't know, that's my nephew. And so for me to bring family in, you know, as much as, you know, I love football, J-Mart was an all-conference, in real life, all-conference running back, right? So he loves the sport of football. And so for me to bring him into the SFL and get him in with Jacksonville under my one of my good friends, Mike All, was awesome. And then, you know, for whatever reason, I'm not going to go into it, Jacksonville decided to let him go. And or I was like, hey, guess what? I want you with me. And fortunately, it just so happened that there was some things that happened in LSG that had a spot, and J-Mart has been balling out. And so I was just one of the proudest moments to have him on my squad with me. As far as during the season, they both happened. The best moment and the worst moment both happened in the same game. I'm gonna go to that Fort Worth game that just happened in week 7. Jason Williams put a spin move on me that I was dizzy from. It was 3 seconds left in the first half, and everybody thought we was just gonna walk off and go into halftime. Jason Williams decided, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna score a touchdown, and I'm gonna make Bo Martin look like a fool when I do it. So they hiked the ball 3 seconds left in the half, and he put a spin move, and I was grabbing at the air, and I looked up, and he was about 20 yards downfield. And he ran for like a 65, 70-yard touchdown. I that didn't, and during halftime, so that was the worst moment of the season for me, at least. And during halftime, I said to my teammates, I'm like, yo, I ain't gonna lie, that looked really bad. I said, I don't know how I'm gonna make it up, but I'm gonna make it up. And I said it like it was real life, like I'm actually in the game. I was like, I'm gonna make this up. If given the opportunity, I'm gonna make this up. And sure enough, third quarter came, I had my opportunity, and they decided to pass to my side, which was a no-no to begin with, and I picked it off. It was a huge momentum shift, and I believe we scored a field goal on that possession, and then that started the momentum shift, and we ended up winning the game 23-20. So that was my best moment because I came back from that adversity, said I was gonna make it up, and I did.
All right, who's next between you and Jimmy or T-Roy?
I go ahead and take it real fast. My best moment this season was that walk-off TD. You know me, I'm extra. I was in the house running around again, touchdown baby, we in here, and it was just like my step into the door in the SFL. You know, that was just, I got a lot of best moments, but as far as your question, as far as football, that was it. As far as my best moment overall, again, drafting and no T-Roy touched me. Nobody, like I said, other than really contacting the league, it was you. T-Roy hit me up, and I was like, oh man, for that man to call me right before and draft me, all that was just like the.
I was vouching for you. What you mean?
No, Eddie, no. Before that, excuse me, Eddie, my bad. Let me give you flowers too. Eddie was there too, but I'm saying as far as football, when it came to getting a running back, you know how the politics in this. You, Eddie, was you looking for a running back, or you had DJ in them? You weren't looking for me, you know what I'm saying? So that was just like to see. And even if you could have got me, I know you probably got me, but just to see somebody else reach out and be like, yeah, hold your horses, we got you. That was my best moment. And as far as bad, I'm a positive person, man. Ain't nothing been bad. That's
y'all
football,
ain't know.
Yeah, it's football, baby. The bad is good at the end of the day, so I don't really got no bad moments. I don't think I ever have a bad moment. Probably retiring and getting away from you guys probably gonna be the bad moment to ever answer that question for anybody ever. But yeah, that's just me.
All right, and end things off. T-Roy.
All right, so I have too good, too bad. The too good was the guy who just talked, Jimmy. Be able to draft him, and I'll be honest with you, I spoke to a lot of running backs during the off season because You know how everybody was. Everybody, as soon as I put that message on the player openings, it's like the GM, who is the running back, just announced that they are now looking for a running back, and everybody come ask me, is like, what's going on? It's like, I can't really tell you. Some of you already knew. Eddie, you already knew. You already had the answer. Andy Hamilton already had the answer. Plenty others had the answer. They knew what I was doing. So be able to give up a spot and pick the person who's going to basically take over from where I left off, and things are working out well. I'm very happy I got Jimmy. Also very happy that he saved my ass. I'm actually going to cuss for once. He saved my ass in that game. It was against Portland. I, for some stupid reason, decided to get skinny when I'm big as heck. Got the ball coughed up and then fumbled the ball. That could have cost us the game, and Jimmy saved my butt. So that's the second positive thing. So he's one of the reasons why we're undefeated. So I already said the first bad thing. The second bad thing is a little bit deeper. I unfortunately am just best way I can say this is heartbroken for all of the I guess the toxicity that's going on, and we already know it, so I'm just going to keep it short, between London and Louisiana. And I totally understand from both sides. It's just heartbroken that it's gotten to that point, because I know every one of those people from both sides that are involved are good people. It's just that things just happen the way they did, and it's rubbed people the wrong way. And I'm not saying nobody should feel like the way they do, because that's their own feelings. And hopefully nothing will go out in Mike St. Green's area. I know he just said he just went through, unfortunately, was a hurricane or a storm going on. So hopefully your power stays on there, Mike. I'm just hoping that when it's all said and done, everybody can find a way to forgive themselves, because this is supposed to be one of, and I think it still is, the coolest things to hang out at, is being the SFL. It's very, very cool. So I just hope that wherever bridges that has been burned, whatever issues that's going on between London and Louisiana with the people involved gets resolved, and everything just be kosher with those two teams. Amen. But that's my biggest disappointment.
Amen.
Gotcha. Well, gentlemen, this has been fun. I really appreciate all of your time, all of you taking time out to do this. So really, this is my 180th episode, and every time I do this, it's more special. And I appreciate everybody for taking the time out to just be here, man. I really do appreciate it.
I like this format, Ashley.
You do?
Yeah,
I like
it. Yeah, this is a cool format. I like it. Thanks for inviting me down.
And I figure if it's going to be like a 2-hour show, I mean, like almost 3 hours, it might as well be full of good content that, you can get different walks of life or different opinions about certain things from the owner's perspective, from the GM's perspective, from players' perspectives. I think that's important for everybody to be heard. And when you can mush all of that together to get all those viewpoints, it makes for a great show. So thank y'all for being a part of it. And this might be the way I do things,
That's why you're the community ambassador, Ashley.
Ashley, it could have been an hour and a half if Eddie wasn't here.
No, yeah.
It could have been an hour if I was. It could have been an hour if I wasn't here too.
It's them two right here. They always. But
I say something else too? Speaking of ambassador, I hope that at the end of this season, here we have a co-ambassador again, but it'll be the two people who have their own shows that's on this channel right now. On this show right now.
Don't take no vote from Ashley. Don't vote for me. Vote for Ashley.
I said Cole. I want to see Cole, because Eddie, I love what you've been doing.
I appreciate it.
And I love how you've been able to handle
Friday.
And I love how you've been able to handle some of the situations that I do not want to be put into. And you do a great job. And
yeah, Ashley, we have a pre-meeting now, and I look, man, don't get too, I'm not into all that. I mean, I want to get it out, but I want it to get ugly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you have done a good job. Great job. I couldn't even come close to mention that as well as you did. And then Ashley, you've been doing this since season 12, and I was so happy for you when you got that Ambassador of the Year award again for last season. I hope you get it again this
You better be in the Hall of Fame next go around. You heard it here first.
Ashley, yes.
4 times, bro.
Yes. So
don't vote for me. Don't vote for me. Vote for Ashley.
But that's all I gotta say on that one.
Well, I appreciate all of that for you. I do this because I really enjoy it. I do it because just enjoy people. I enjoy getting to know people and the camaraderie that we have developed in this league. That's why, it is important to keep the toxicity out of it. I mean, like, we already got enough going on in our lives, off camera, off screen, off field, or whatever. When you just want to come here and you just want to have a good time and be with your friends, that's it. Watch the video game unfold that hopefully you'll be the winner of. If not, just just have fun, man. So whatever y'all got to do to make things right, do it.
When the SFL blows up and we on like Fox Sports or ESPN or some other network, and they have someone who introduces new people to the league, you should be in charge of that. You should have a panel of people, and you're going to say, hey, this is how you do it. Follow my league. I'm going to do the first few or whatever, and y'all going to take it from here. That should be you. Cam should put you on payroll and have you as the community introducer, whatever the heck the title is, and they just give you that role and let you handle it. Put you on payroll. Man,
I appreciate that. I really do. But as long as y'all like this, man, as long as y'all getting something from it, I'm doing my job. That's it. But
I'm going off topic. Speaking of blowing up, EA Sports or 2K Sports, why haven't you hit up Cam yet and give us our own video game? We've been around here for 2013.
I got an answer for you. Truth is, there is someone high within the organization. Cam probably won't admit this well.
Don't get in trouble.
There is someone high within the ranks who wants to, but they're being shut down because someone higher than them. But trust me, they want to get involved. They want to come to the convention.
Just whoever is preventing that from happening, look at us. We've been around since 2013.
This thing can blow up, bro.
This thing already has blown up.
It's blown up. Dude,
and it's going to continue to grow.
We were this close to getting a sponsorship with Buffalo Wild Wings.
Wow.
It's coming, bro. I told Cam, I said, Cam, you better be ready to have some personnel to hire because this thing gonna blow up and you ain't gonna have enough people to keep it going. You better be ready for real.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha, man. But gentlemen, I know y'all got things to do, so I'm gonna let you go. But I can't let you do that without giving you the last word. So quickly, I gotta make sure I bring records of this. Eddie, what's your last word for everybody?
Arizona, I love every last doggone one of y'all. I swear I do. I'm having so much fun this season. We got a big game coming up against Lone Star, who won 2 straight. That running game of theirs is no joke. Sudo Nakai looking good out there as a lead blocker. Their offense is not to be underestimated. Their passing game is better than people giving credit for, and their defense, and particularly Jukin Rukin, and that man right there, Bo Martin, is giving me fits all week in my Sims, and golly, it's gonna be a good game. That's all I got.
All right, next up, Mike.
Yeah, I guess I'll give a shout out to my London teammates and locker room and hierarchy, head coaches, ownership, everything, man. Keep your heads up. We've had a tough, past 3-4 weeks. A couple of bounces of the ball goes one way or the other, man. We're 5-3 instead of 3-5. We're still in it. We still, our dream of what we wanted to do coming into the season is still alive, guys. So, man, keep your heads up, and we'll get this thing turned around this week, man. And we're going to keep trying to live this dream.
All right. What about you, Bo?
I just want to give a shout out to LSG. I love my squad from top to bottom, from starting to Charles and Dave and all the way down, every single person on the squad. If you could see and hear some of the conversations that take place in our locker room, it doesn't matter if we win or lose. The quality of the player and the people that we have in our locker room, I haven't been in every other locker room, but I don't think there's a better locker room to be in. Win or lose, my teammates support us. They love us. They cheer us on. And so shout out to LSG. It's glorious, baby.
All right. Thank you. And Will Todd.
Well, I already gave Arizona a shout out earlier, so I'll just say, just make sure that all the people that you love in your life, make sure that you tell them, make sure that they know it.
Amen.
Facts.
And what about you, Jimmy?
First off, I just want to say shout out to them vultures. All them vultures, my whole Be More squad. Shout out to them. And I just want to thank all you guys. I'm on this panel right now with straight legends. I ain't even say much because I'm a straight sponge the whole time, just soaking, learning, you know, what I'm going to take, because y'all going to see me one day doing the same thing y'all doing and taking the torch from all y'all and bringing the newcomers on. So, yo, thank all you legends. Straight, I'm up here with SFL legends. Thank y'all.
Anytime, Jimmy. And lastly, T-Roy Games.
All right. As I always do, shout out and thank you for the love and support to SFL Nation and, of course, to the Baltimore Vultures. Appreciate it. And so everyone, just like Will just said, everyone, tell somebody you love them. Tell everybody you know that you love them. Tomorrow's not promised today. Get rid of all that beef. Tell them you love them. This world's already in the same world as it is outside in IRL, what I meant to say. Tell somebody you love them. Life's too short. I love y'all here, by the way.
And we love you too, T-Roy. All right, guys. Thank you again so much for being on the show. And I'm looking forward to bringing you another great show next week. But until then, y'all, stay safe, treat each other well. Eddie, Will, T-Roy, Jimmy, Mike, Bo, and Striker out.
Jimmy, we come for y'all in the playoffs, bro.